taking action for you. This morning on TV 20 Detroit starts right now.
Thank you for joining us on PULSEBEAT with GREG DUNMORE. On this particular show, we're going to spotlight some fascinating creative forces by the way of fashion designers. So stay tuned as we introduce you to some very interesting creative people.
What's happening in entertainment? From Tinseltown to the Big Apple, this is your weekly entertainment magazine with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.
I'm not in love, so don't forget it. It's just a silly phase I'm going through.
The newest, hottest designer to come out of Detroit, Donovan Dewberry. Donovan, for just a little background, your connection with Ralph Lauren.
Yes, so I recently was designing for Ralph Lauren on the women's footwear design team. It was my first position, out of school, for a real house, and it was amazing. I got to learn so many different things and see the other side from such a established brand that's been around for so many years. It's so involved in the fashion history. So it was great. It was really great.
Don't make a fuss.
Now they say it doesn't get any better than Ralph Lauren, but then again, Gucci is also part of your impressive resume. Let us know how Gucci now is part of your career journey.
If you had it all your way, how would the world look? Would it be filled with trouble and sorrow, or opportunity and joy? Would we laugh and celebrate, or cry and lament? Would we sit and watch each other struggle, or leap at the chance to lend a hand?
Yeah, so Gucci Changemakers collaborated with Design Corps Detroit here in the city. And every September they do Design Month, and they welcome creatives from fashion designers, artists, to display their work for the month of September. But back in 2020, they had a collaboration with Design Corps, and I got a chance to present my work and be sponsored by Gucci and present my work through their platform. It was the largest platform I had to this point, so yeah, it was great. It was really great.
Now you're being saluted by the Metropolitan Museum of Design Detroit, Leslie Ann Pilling and Robert Lett. They've raved about you for some time. When you talk about distinctively Detroit style as an African American fashion designer, we know what the Motown and music scene symbolizes, but what symbolizes Detroit style distinctively?
I think Detroit it's always established itself for people who love how to dress. They want to dress up. It's never, a dull moment. And I've always loved to tap into that energy. But for me, I love the couture, I love the drama. So I've tried to connect those two worlds, So being able to present my vision, but kind of tapping into the energy that people have, wanting to look their best.
Now, some of your babies are behind you, your creations. Would you walk us through and just let us know what inspired the designs behind you and what stimulates you and what is your muse as a soon-to-be legendary fashion designer?
It's the perfect between, high-end couture, but it's still like young and fresh. The corset and the draping of the sleeves feels very grand. But then the skirt is still, young and fresh and kind of tapping into, the Y2K era that's really hot right now. So that's kind of what my goal is. I always want to merge the worlds between high-end and accessibility. I want, the girls to feel young and hip and sickening, but I still want them to feel like they're tapping into the high-end couture as well.
And your sketch work that you're sketching behind you?
Yes, sketches. Sketching is... Everybody's design process is different, but for me, sketching is essential. It's the first step. That's how you sell the vision. That's how you sell the fantasy to the girl, to your client, to myself, before it becomes anything. So some of those sketches are some of my past work, but they still connect to the story we're trying to tell with sketching to draping to finished product.
Now, You've now done things in New York, and you are being lauded by Ralph Lauren and the people at Gucci. What does Detroit allow you to do that had Detroit not been part of who you are, maybe you wouldn't have done it that way? Is there something distinctively Detroit in your desires that you can identify that gives you that little extra je ne sais quoi?
New York has been great. You know, the few times that I have been out there, I've kind of gotten a chance to taste what the industry feels like out there. But Detroit, I think what's kind of anchored me here, at least for now, it just kind of gives me at least a bigger stage to shine and to present myself. Because I know out there, the industry has a strong hold and presence there, but here it's, you know, blooming and blossoming. So I kind of want to be a part of that.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
What's happening in entertainment with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
Music is an international language, and coping through music is something that is priceless. Allow us to introduce you now once again to Jaylen Mickens, who is a young man from Cass Technical High School who really knows that music can be life-saving.
This definitely helped me during COVID once because I wasn't able to do movement full out. So like some movements, I would know what the movement would be full body. Like if I did this, it would be turns or how many turns I was gonna do.
The pandemic was something that devastated so many people, and to be a young person during such a traumatic time in our history, how was music distinctively an instrument of change for you to help you cope through this?
Besides my love for dance, music has always been a part of my life. It's something that my parents introduced to me, grandparents introduced to me at a very young age. So I knew that if I wasn't dancing or if I wasn't expressing myself through movement within my body, I was able to turn to music. So that was a second outlet that really helped me cope through the trying times of COVID.
Let's talk about some of the music that we gifted you with, and this is a cross-generational interaction of uplifting music that we would hope would have inspired you had you known about these artists during the pandemic.
Whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, whether I find a place in this world or never belong, I gotta be me, I gotta be me. What else can I be but what I am?
When I picked Sammy Davis Jr.'s music, and he recorded the song, I've Gotta Be Me, What Else Can I Be But Who I Am. And then I thought about you, Jaylen, because as a young black male with an athletic build who is a graceful dancer, you are really being who you are. Your thoughts on Sammy Davis Jr. and distinctively the song, I've Got to Be Me, What Else Can I Be?
I got to be, what else can I be? It definitely spoke to me, being, like you said, a bigger guy, but knowing how to shift my body weight and really knowing how to graciously move. I was a football player. That was one of my first loves. Through family, through playing football, through my dad and my brothers and everything. But I just really found a passion for dance, and that's something that I knew I wanted to pursue. And even though I loved football, I ultimately chose dance because it's just something that genuinely made me happy. Not saying football didn't, but dance is just who I was. And I feel like listening to that song really helped validate my feelings when it came to my decision with choosing dance. Because now look at me, I'm gifted and I'm Black and I'm young and I'm living my dream, which is telling my story and multiple people's stories through the art form of movement, which is dance.
Now, we picked seasoned songs by seasoned singers. Donny Hathaway, We Need You Right Now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one else to turn to but you. You're the only answer to the situation that we've gotten ourselves into.
I've danced to that song before for church. It's a very spiritual song. It's a very uplifting song, a very emotional song, but sometimes when you don't know where to go, or you don't know what path is ahead of you, or you're just scared of the unknown in general, knowing that there is a higher power or there's someone that knows your path and someone who can help you is very uplifting. That song always tingles my heartstrings a little bit. Lil Baby is one of our generation's newer rap artists. Again, he's another artist who's been out for a minute, but is just now getting popularized, and I think it's great.
I'm going all in, this house vibes everywhere. She calling more friends, my word or none, ain't none. I cannot bargain.
Him himself, he's a good artist, he's a good rapper. That song is a really good song, so I can see why it was chosen. And a lot of our generation can really relate to these newer rappers like Lil Baby and stuff like that. Because yes, they're rappers, but they also do stuff for the community, and they also do outreach, and they go back to their hometowns, and they play with kids, and they give out money for charity. So I really respect what Lil Baby does. You guys may not understand it half the time, or you guys may not get why we're so hung on to these artists, but it's because one, we grew up with them, and two, we kind of understand what they're saying. They're younger people creating music, doing what they love. And 9 times out of 10, these younger artists like Ariana Grande have looked up to Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle and Whitney Houston. And they've gotten some of their chips for older artists. That's why I can say that cross-generational music will always be a great thing, and really understanding, during the pandemic, we can really, come together. And I think that's the one thing that everyone needed during the pandemic was togetherness.
Pulse of the new generation. PulseBeat.TV.
I had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good.
And we just had a new baby, and then all of a sudden she's on life support, fighting for her life.
They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
To learn more about how the American Heart Association is saving lives, go to helpheart.org.
I'm Naheem Hines. I support the Muscular Dystrophy Association because they help my mom and kids like Ethan.
Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before.
Join us and learn more at mda.org today.
What's happening in entertainment with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
If you like what we're doing, please tell a friend, or if you want to see what we've done again, go to PulseBeatGlobal.com. That's PulseBeatGlobal.com. You can also go to our PulseBeat TV YouTube channel and you can revisit what we're doing. And once again, you can tell everybody that we're doing something that is so exciting that they wouldn't want to miss it. Remember PulseBeatGlobal.com or the YouTube channel PulseBeat TV. Thanks for telling the world about us.
One smile is great, but one smile in a community of smiles is so much better. Smile Train celebrates the cleft lip and palate community by empowering medical professionals in over 70 countries to perform essential cleft care in their local communities. Smile Train, changing the world one smile at a time.
You would think that owning one's name is a God-given right, but it's always a backstory that can be problematic, and we've got one.
So, the bedding, the pillows, and not the rug.
So you did this under Eric Beamon? Or
under Eric Beamon. Oh, I did. Neiman Marcus was one of my
major
big clients.
Wow.
And this is when this is like the color pillow, but all these designers were calling to have them make up their own colors. You know what I mean? And this is Karen. That's Karen, that's Eric Erickson, that's Vicky, and that's me with my goatee jacket.
Eric Beamon. So I thank you for allowing me to meet him in Detroit at your museum. And his journey is very fascinating because Eric Beamon is a legendary name whose name became controversial concerning the business of his name. First of all, say something about Eric Beamon for the audience to know your impressions of who I call a fashion icon. The famous Furrier Black Gamma had the slogan, the iconic slogan, what becomes a legend most? And certainly when we speak of legendary, Eric Beamon is the definitive Detroit known by his international success in jewelry. And he is being honored now in this really, I would say, history-making acknowledgement in the heart and soul of Detroit on the importance of black design and fashion out of Detroit. Let us know your feelings about being honored, Mr. Beamon.
Overwhelmed. It's very exciting, and I love the surroundings, and it's nice to be back here.
First of all, say something about Eric Beamon for the audience to know your impressions of who I call a fashion icon.
I will tell you a bit of a story, real high level. And I had a retail store, a photography gallery, etc., down on Library Street in Detroit. I was coming back from whatever I was doing, and I said to my manager, "Hi, how are you?" She said, "Eric Beamon dropped by." I didn't know, I mean, I knew Eric, of course, famous Eric. And then I looked at her, I said, "You mean the Eric Beamon?" And she said, "Yeah, Eric Beamon." And I looked around and I'm like, am I being punked? And sure enough, it was Eric. He came in the most gentle, wonderful, talented, humble person. And from that day forward, we became very fast friends, and we talked to each other all the time. And his situation, as you were just explaining, it literally makes my heart hurt when I see how it, still talented, but it almost stole part of his identity in a way that unfortunate circumstances happen. So for you to even bring this forward as a very important discussion for many people to learn from, I thank you for that, because people don't talk about this.
Right.
And it needs to be talked about in the business of fashion.
I am blessed and honored to talk to you. And do you have a story? Now, I'm aware of certain things and certain things I'm not aware of. First of all, I want to just turn back the hands of time, and I want to talk about how does a little black boy become motivated to become a world-renowned jewelry designer?
Well, I think at a young age, my mother knew I was not going to be a rocket scientist. And I always liked crafty and creative things. So we used to go up to Ann Arbor to this bead store. And I guess there must have been maybe from 8 to 10 bead-a-bead-a. And I used to play with these beads and crafty type things. And then I started doing flea markets in downtown Detroit in the current, or where the ice skating ring is. It used to be called something else.
Hart Plaza, maybe?
No, like right where, I think it is called Hart Plaza now, but it was something else back then, but it was like, you know, a huge, I can't even remember what it's called. But anyway, every Sunday, it's maybe I'm 12 years old, I had a booth down there and I would be selling candles, it was the 70s, and beads. And I just always kept a contact or beading and jewelry always interested me, and I wanted to see how far I can push it and come up with unique things, minimal money, have it look different, and have a quality there. Because costume jewelry is known for falling off stones and things of nature. So my technique in making jewelry would be the same way they would do a rosary. Cut each piece of wire, put the bead on, and then close it off. So there's no chance of it breaking through a jump ring or loading like that. So that's where that started to go.
And you were a teenager at this time?
Well, yeah, like probably like 12 or before I started working in Birmingham. So yes, I was young, but that's you know, the big thing. I've always loved fashion and started working retail. I have to catch the bus from Henry Ford, go out to Birmingham. But I felt that what I needed to be in New York. Henry Ford in the library, I would read the New York Times on Sunday, fashion column. So that was where I was focused. So 17 years old, I moved to New York, but I was taking classes for bench making, soldering, silversmith, this type of thing. Really with the beads. So I was able to get some scrap pieces of leather. And the initial thing was strip it into strips and put the beads on this very fine suede. Not in between each bead, and have where you would put a new piece of suede, you would tie it so it would be that one piece hanging, we put a bead there and continued on. So these necklaces were with all these little very, very thin strips of suede using Swarovski beads, so it had to be that thin. I did not have the capital to pursue this. And that's when my partner at the time was the backer.
Now your partner's name at that time
was Karen Goldberg. This is Karen. Roz and Charm.
Roz and Charms, yes, in West Bloomfield.
Mm-hmm. That was one of our best stores.
Yes, I know I read this story. You're bringing back a memory. See, this story, I can recall reading this story.
And this
I know
is
I
why
read it, yeah.
when Karen with this article, I'm like, people are gonna think she's like this crazy lady. I mean, because people, it's not like I didn't exist.
I read this story. Yeah, this is bringing back a memory because this is how I know you. Because
her and her husband at the time owned a shoe store and clothing, you know, very cool things in downtown Birmingham. So I worked there, and I also did the displays there. And actually, I did like a Henry Bendel's type of thing display, but it caused such a commotion that the Chamber of Commerce called me at home to find out if I could somewhat minimize it because there was such heavy traffic in front of this window.
It became a destination point.
So that, yeah. But Linda Solomon wrote a story about this, and several stores contacted me to just, you know, one store asked me to actually set up the stores, the racks, and this and that. So, I got a lot of exposure there, moved to New York.
Now, when you connected with Karen Goldberg, and her husband's name would be?
Bill Goldberg.
Bill Goldberg. So when you connected with Karen and Bill Goldberg, were they like muses for you? Were they business people that ended up connecting with you as investors? Or what was their relationship that was part of what was turning your wheel in the business of fashion?
They had opened a store in New York, and that's when Karen and I became friends again. And she was the gravy train, along with, you know, she worked also with, you know, she was sort of like, I was the creative person. So you can make as many nice things and do this and do that, but you gotta know the business part of it. And that was good. And she had a good insight, and she was a daring person to make like Christian Dior or just these Gucci, these houses that were, you know, fading away. When, you know, these backers came in and turned the whole sort of situation around. But that's how they got to
So
there.
now when you left Birmingham to join Karen and Bill Goldberg, did you join them in a formal partnership, or did you do it in New York City?
No.
As we told you, this would be a very fascinating story, and this is not the end. Stay tuned.
What's my name? What's my name? This is all hands on deck. Calling out to lost boys and girls. I'm getting tired of the disrespect. We won't stop till we rule the world. It's our time. We are next. Our sails about to be set. They think nothing yet. Tell them who's in charge so they don't forget. What's my name? What's my name? Say it louder. What's my name? What's my name? Feel the power. No one's gonna stop us soon. The world will be ours. What's my name?
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.